Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi Lilkatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page here on Facebook. This is the morning live stream that I do almost every morning. And I say almost, I think I missed maybe a couple in the last almost 3 months. And this live stream is all about the card draw that I do in the mornings to sense the kind of energy that's flowing today. What's most important for us to know about in the energy? And I started to post those, like a quote from the card information on our Instagram account for Star Nations. I think I started last September, October, and then I thought, well, maybe the community here at Star Nations would enjoy having some of the background information and have a discussion, a conversation, a spiritual conversation about the energy around the essence of the card that was drawn. So good morning to everybody. Good morning, Rochelle. It's so good to have you here. And Nellie, Mervyn Kelly, good afternoon. He's over the pond. He's over in England. Yeah. It's good to have you here, Nellie. Mervyn is one of our live stream show hosts here at Star Nations. His show is called From Star to Stone, and it's on the second Tuesday of every month. And I love it because you know what? We get to talk about druidry and that kind of stuff, and it's really, he always has something really interesting, and Mervyn has a wicked sense of humor. He always has me laughing. Good morning, Elise. Good morning, Marianne. And it's a good Tuesday here. You know, we still have sunshine. There's no complaints about the weather here whatsoever. I think it got up to like 85 yesterday, and today is going to be about the same. But there's no humidity. Yay! It's always good for the hair too, right? Last night I was a guest on the Paul Krauss show. We were talking about the polarization of politics and even in the social world, right? And just before we get started, we always have, before every show like that, when you have a guest, you're kind of chatting about the show and the direction it's going to go in. But Paul and I know each other, and so we were talking about mundane stuff. It was so hot over there in Kyoto, Japan. Yesterday it was 99 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't remember what he said it was Celsius. I think he said it was 38. But that's like hot. And he goes, and the humidity is like 4 times the amount. And so it was hot over there. Good morning, Margaret. Good morning. Nellie says, thank you, Neshi. You're too kind. That's because I'm kind to kind people. Now, what's your beverage this morning? Mine is coffee. Mine's coffee. Only because I was just a little too lazy this morning to start the hot water, and the coffee was already brewed, so I just poured coffee this morning. Here at Star Nations on Tuesdays are always busy. Has been from the time we had our shows on Blog Talk Radio. Tuesdays have always been busy, and it's no different. So, Tuesday mornings is like you get the roller skates on and you're going to be going until my show is done at 9:00 tonight. And that's for the listeners, right? For me, it doesn't get done until probably close to 10:30 because I am downloading videos and uploading videos and getting those all situated for those people who like to see the recorded shows on YouTube so that they can share them with other people and outside of Facebook. And so I'm busy with that. And I also make sure that we have this automatic upload to a couple of places, and SoundCloud is one of them. So I always go in to check that and make sure that it's good to go. Rochelle's got apple cider this morning. That sounds good. Margaret's saying water. Mbish. That's how you say it in Potawatomi. Mbish. It's spelled M-B-I-S-H. Mbish. I'm multilingual in the word water. I'm okay with languages. I'm not fluent in any of them except maybe English. Mbish in Potawatomi is water. Ni in Ho Chunk is water. Agua in Spanish. Um, Wasser in German. And I'm missing one other than water. So if you count English, that's 5 languages for the word water. Yeah. Yeah. I used to be able to count too in I think it's Chinese. Chinese. Did you guys ever play Chinese jump rope when you were a kid? And let's see if I can do this. Ich ni song shi go rook sich hach ku ju. Yeah, that's 10. Yeah, yep. That's one of my tricks. Something you guys didn't know about me. I can count to 10 in Chinese only because of Chinese jump rope when I was a kid. Now, the card that we had today that was drawn, let's see if I can get it out of the book here, is a card that has been coming up multiple times. And to the point that this morning when it jumped out of the card deck and I because it landed face up, I thought, really? We're going to go over that one again? What have we not talked about with this card? Why is this so important? Because I'm talking to my spiritual team, right? Right. And Rochelle is aqua in Latin. That's true. And Lisa's drinking H2O. She's at least telling us that's the science language for water. That's true. That's true. Now, this is a card that I had to sit with for a little bit because we have covered it so much that what is Spirit telling us about the energy for today with this card, since we talked about it so much? And it's the South Shield, Innocence and Inner Child. South Shield. I think you guys remember this. That's not a dog in the image. That's a coyote. And the Jamie Sams, who is the author of the cards in the book, she uses the medicine wheel where the coyote is in the south. The energy, the medicine of the coyote in the south. So I had to sit with this one for a little bit because I thought, what is it about this particular information on this card, the essence of it? What is it that we haven't covered or that we need to go deeper with? And Elisa say a tiny prayer for my finger getting worse. I saw that picture. It's which hand is it, Elisa? It looked like it was your right hand, but I'm not sure. She has an inflamed, it looks like at the first joint of the middle finger, I think it is. And it looks really angry, really red and painful. And let's not just say a tiny prayer. Let's hold Elise in our hearts and pray that she gets relief from this and heals whatever that is. Yeah. Oh, Stephanie's not in the house yet. Stephanie is really good at helping out with getting information, right? When we're talking about stuff. I mean, I could take the time to look it up, but it would take me just a little bit. All right. So Elise is saying, right, creeping toward my hand. Okay. And Mervyn, Nellie is saying, pop some tea tree on it too. Okay, so Lisa, if you have some tea tree to put on it to see how well that will work. Good morning, Mary Anderson Fry. And Rochelle is saying, Reiki healing sent your way. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for doing that for Elise. Yeah. And she says, Elise is saying that they have the tea tree oil and antibiotics. Good. LaRonda is saying lemongrass oil is also good for inflammation. Good morning, Amy. So good to see you in the chat room. Yeah, Elise, do you know if it's arthritis inflammation or is it some sort of infection because you're on antibiotics? Just a little background information would probably be helpful. I did see online, and I actually shared the video. Linda Black Elk, I believe is her last name. She's from North Dakota. I think North Dakota. She happens to be Dakota, and no, married to a Dakota. That's it. And she was talking about stinging nettles. And here we are at the height of summer, and stinging nettles is like prolific, right? It's everywhere. And so I'm not about the application of stinging nettles. Madozen and Stephanie and thank you, ladies, for being here with us. We're talking about Elisa's hand, her right hand, middle finger, first knuckle. She's got some pretty serious situation with her hand. She says, Elisa's saying it's part of rheumatoid disease I have, but it's a nasty infection. Okay. So, and she's got tea tree oil. She is on antibiotics, but it's been very painful, and it looks like it's getting worse. Margaret is saying warm compresses. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If somebody could look up the stinging nettles for Elise and its application, I'm not sure if Linda Black Elk might have it someplace on Facebook, or maybe someplace on out on, because she talks about it a lot. She says, Linda Black Elk says that if there was one medicinal plant that she had, if she could only take one medicinal plant with her, she would take stinging nettles because it's good for so many things. And Margaret, I think you're right about that warm compress. Some people use castor oil with for that warm compress, to soak, a towel or something in the castor oil, warm up the oil a little bit. Sometimes you can put it in the microwave just for like a second or a minute or two, not even, just to get it warm. And put it, because the castor oil is going to draw out the impurities, is what that does. I have a good friend who uses it on her back. Castor oil packs a lot. Yeah. Yeah, Stephanie, you're right. That stinging nettles are used in microdoses for nerve damage. That is true. But the whole plant, including the roots, are used extensively and for a lot of different things. And so, Elise, we're going to try to get that information to you, okay? And see if that's anything that you feel that it resonates with you to use. All right. Okay. So for those who are joining us, this is the card that was drawn this morning. South Shield, Innocence and Inner Child. We've had this card, I just mentioned, several times, and I was talking to my spiritual team about it. It's like, okay, we've had this card multiple times. So what is it about this particular time? What didn't we cover? And basically what I got was, that the innocence that we all still have within us is really important. One, to acknowledge and to recognize, but it is extremely important to protect. And so that's the piece that they want us to talk about today, to share about today, is that protection of our inner child and our innocence. In fact, the right after, like, not even a minute later, I had gotten a message from one of my good sisters. She was sharing some stuff about our inner child and what she does almost on a daily basis. Is that in her meditations, what she does is she brings that part of her forward, and to talk to that inner child of hers, her as a child, right? And to let that part of her know that she is safe and that she is loved, and that to be grateful for that aspect of herself that holds her creativity and holds her the essence of her intuition. And so So that's what she shared. And I was thinking, I had literally just finished my conversation with my guides about the innocence in the inner child. And I thought, okay, all right, we're on the right track. We're going to share that piece about bringing that part of us, that aspect of us, when you make the not just make the time, but to embrace that time with that aspect of yourself, of the inner child, and to nurture that part of you. And how do you nurture a child? How do you nurture that aspect of you as an inner child? We talk about playtime and making, having fun, and that's all good. We should be doing that. But today it's about protecting that part of us. And I have to say that my next thought after I'd read my sister's message is I was thinking about how deeply, emotionally, thousands of people were affected worldwide. Let's go into the millions. Were affected by what's happening here in the U.S. about immigration and the children, right? And we're seeing this. We were seeing it until recently, almost every day. If you're watching television or cable or anything like that, it certainly it came to the forefront in our faces almost on a daily basis, and even on social media, right? We were seeing it, and so there's a part of me that believes that we had to see that. We, the royal we, had to see that and feel those emotions around that situation, because I believe what it tapped into is our own inner child, and that fear, because it is fear, that is the worst thing that can happen to a child, is to be taken from their parents and to be put into such a vulnerable situation, right? And as parents, that it's the worst thing that can happen. That's the worst nightmares, to have your child in jeopardy and not be able to get to your child, to protect the child. And so I think that whole situation really, really struck deep into our being, our emotional being, and touching our inner child. And even when I'm talking about it, I can feel the emotion, the tears, kind of like right underneath the surface. And so I think that we have to turn our attention to that, because when we take care of that, any aspect of ourselves, it's that ripple effect, right? We affect the environment around us. And so if we would, of course, still say the prayers for the children down there, of course, to do that. But the action piece, I think, can happen in a couple of different ways. And one of those actions is to take the time, the precious earth time, to connect with our inner child and nurture that part of us, to talk to that aspect of ourselves. And as my friend did, is to remind our inner child that we're safe, that we're loved, that we nurture that part of ourselves like we would nurture another child, right? And that part of us begins to heal, begins to trust ourselves. That's huge. And the conscious part of us, this adult looking part of us, learns how to nurture unconditionally. If we can get to that place with ourselves, we can get to that place with others. Yeah. Yeah. I think, when I was listening to what my spiritual team had to say, it was pretty, I could sense the importance, deep importance of this piece. And so to be able to be here this morning with you and to bring this the essence of this card. This is the deepest we've ever gone with this card, with the essence of the meaning of the innocence in the inner child. The last time we talked, we were talking about doing those healings of the mental, emotional, physical traumas to heal those aspects, to remove the debris and the interference so that our innocence is more prominent, right? Yeah. Yeah. Stephanie is saying, okay. Rochelle, I read that one. Rochelle says, find out I had a mini stroke when I had my back surgery in April. You did? Wow. Well, no wonder why your convalescence is taking a little bit longer than you thought it was going to take. Well, it's good, Rochelle, that you're taking care of yourself. I know that you've had multiple appointments and therapy appointments and that sort of thing. So that's really good. And, and I know that there's many people that said prayers for you during that time frame too. Yeah. Wow. Did you just recently find that out, Rochelle, like in the last couple of days? Okay. Inner child. There was one piece, because we've gone over Jamie's writing several times. And there was this one piece where when she was learning from her spiritual guides, teachers, about about many things, but when she was learning about the directions of the medicine wheel, when they got to the south piece, she was brought 3 gifts from spirit. And one of those gifts was a doll, and it's called a Heyoka doll. Now, Heyoka has a whole nother meaning and very deep meaning to it. But what we're focusing on right now is the actual aspect of the doll. And she writes that, she says that first path to understanding the wisdom of the child is the spirit of playfulness. If you can laugh at the events that strip you of your ego-centered pride, you will return to innocence and humility. It's from that place of the new beginnings that all things become clear and filled with truth. She goes on to say, to honor the child's wisdom of balancing the sacredness with the irreverent, all things have their place in time. And so we see the value of trust. The value of trust. And she also goes on to talk about is the understanding of the beauty of the essence, that we need to not alter that innocence and childlike preciousness for anyone. It's a gift for others to see that reflection so that you may drop the masks of fear and also see that they hold the beauty of their inner child. Sorry. Through knowing the inner child within, you will restore faith and life and capture the wonder of living again. So that last piece, I think that's a piece that we need to embrace, is because see, don't you ever notice that when you're getting to a certain point, you're trying to make a point, because I could feel it in my crown chakra. This is something that needs to be said. And yeah, And we have the ability to use our voices when we talk about things like this, especially when it's so very important, and to work through the interference, because that was an interference. I have protection set up here, so for it to come through the protection, I have to acknowledge it and say, I see you, right? And I sense you, and you're not going to stop this message from getting through, because it's really important that those souls that need this information, this frequency of the information, that it gets out there, right? All right. So when we nurture our inner child and love that part of us and keep that part of us safe, then the trust, that part of us begins to trust ourselves. And when we trust ourselves, the real us can be seen, because we remove the mask, that illusion, and because we have the ability to love and trust ourselves. And so the inner child part of us, that aspect of us, is what we're seeing a lot and feeling a lot in recent months, in this last year, because it's really literally has been in our face everywhere we turn. And if we're not even watching it on television or social media, it's happening in our own homes, that we're dealing with a wounded child, inner child, and maybe an adult, or maybe it is one of your own children, you know. And so when we have to turn to face it, because if we ignore it, it grows and grows and grows until we can't ignore it anymore. And so how do we do that then? How do we take that innocence, that innocent part of ourselves, that inner child, and love that part of us, and instill that security, that safety? How do we do that? Now, has anybody in the chat room ever done this piece, worked on this piece, whether it was a therapy modality, your own kind of prayers, or piecing something together like my sister has done? Is that it's in her meditation that she connects to her inner child part of her, and brings that part of her to forward, and literally has a conversation with herself, and letting her that inner child of her know that she's safe and she's loved. So has anybody in the chat, what do you use? Because what we're looking for is to help each other through this, right? That we're not in this alone. That there are tools out there, different therapies, different healers, different ways of getting to the place of wholeness, is what they're saying. This is a wholeness issue. And when we can do that for ourselves, and it comes forward, and we're feeling more secure, more loved from the inside out, and how that ripples out, those children that we are so concerned about and worried about and praying for through that immigration crisis, that's one way, that's an action that we can take on our own to help shift that energy down there, along with our prayers, yes. But we have to put some action to it, so that, we talked about this in other cards, is how to ground something to the earth plane. And we're grounding it to the fourth dimension earth plane. that it has to come through us. It has to come through our bodies, our physical body, to be grounded to the earth plane. So in our healing work, in our healing that part of us that we call the inner child, that innocent part of us, that's an action. That's taking action. And that ripple effect will help those prayers that we're saying for those children down there and all over the world, really, all over the world. So it's not a small thing that we're doing when we're doing this kind of healing, this kind of stepping into our own wholeness, right? Yeah. That is what I got from my team this morning, because I thought, how much more can we talk about this card? But they're giving us an opportunity to go even deeper with this meaning. And so when I asked about the relative, the animal relative, who can help us with this, this is who showed up. Armadillo. Yeah. I'm going to check something here. Yeah, I thought I was missing comments. All right, so Stephanie says third time since I started watching again. Third time what? What is the exact problem? Okay. Well, Connie's here. Amada says Linda Black Elk's info on stinging nettles. Thank you, Amato. Yay! All right, so I'm hoping something that we shared this morning for Elise. One of those is going to help you, Elise. We got a lot of good stuff here this morning. Elise, we love you. See what we did, what we'll do for you just to help you out. Yeah, I'm hoping that one of those things will work. Okay, and then Stephanie's got in here how to process fresh stinging nettles. Excellent. Oh, and Rochelle is saying that's why my balance is out of kilter. I see that. Well, doesn't that make some sense now, right? About the stroke. Yep. Yeah, the Heyoka doll Stephanie is mentioning. Yeah. Well, that came to her as a spirit, in a spirit sense. It wasn't a physical Heyoka doll. That would be like a whole different kind of discussion, I think, or conversation, is the use of Heyoka and the use of Heyoka dolls. That is not a small piece of medicine there. And maybe we'll do that in the academy when I do the mini shamanic journey class, which is a free class through there. So that might be a good topic, Stephanie, that we can talk about the medicine that they call Heyoka, because it's a medicine that is used not just in the Oseti Shikoi, the Great Sioux Nation. It's all across Turtle Island, and it's called many different names. So that is maybe a topic that we can talk about there. Yeah. And Rochelle is saying, yes, feel better, more secure. Stephanie is saying it's a daily thing for me. Yay. That's good. Thank you for doing that, Stephanie. That's and then sharing the work that you do for yourself with others. That's another layer of action, to share it, and because maybe someone's looking for a process. Maybe they're just starting and they're not quite sure how to piece it together or what to use. We can talk about doing the healing, but how do you do it? And especially when you're first starting out, because you're really trying to doing everything that you can, and you're trying to do it as right as you can, right? Rochelle says, I picture myself as a child hugging myself and tell myself I am loved and I am safe. Ah. And so you picturing yourself as that child, which, hey, that is a really good point, Rochelle, is how many of us remember what we look like as a child, right? Sometimes our parents have those kind of pictures, and maybe they were given to us to hold. Once our parents as they get older, they start giving stuff, that they think we want. And so maybe you have a picture of yourself as a little girl or a little boy. I know I do. My parents, my portrait was done when I was, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that. It's a charcoal. I think it's charcoal. I'd have to double check the medium that was used. It was done by an artist in my very, very first job as a dancer, Native American dancer, and he wanted to do my portrait. And so my mom allowed me to sit for him, and she was there with me. And so when my parents sold our family home and moved to a retirement condo, of course they had to right size. They had to get down enough to for a 975 square foot condo, right? And so my mom gave me that portrait, and so it's hanging in my office actually. Maybe I'll do is take a picture of it for you, and then share it with you guys. And Stephanie saying, when I don't acknowledge my inner child daily, I start to go crazy. I use journaling and play therapy. Perfect. Hi, Marcia. Oh, and she says, I love this topic. Me too. And Stephanie is saying, music from childhood is also a great way to acknowledge and work through the traumas of childhood. Role play and letting out your inner child also helps. Coloring books are great. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And make sure you get the crayons that you really, really wanted as a child. So I have the 64. No, is it 64? Yeah, it's the bigger box, and it's got the sharpener in there. I know that there's bigger ones now. There's like 100 and something crayons, but I wanted the 64 when I was a kid. Yeah. Oh, and the card. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And Margaret's saying, some of Polly Joe's help. Tapping has helped with trauma I had as a young one, then as an adult, and I had foster grandchildren. I've learned forgiveness helps to heal. Yes, it does, doesn't it? And you're right. I think it's in layers, because this is my belief, is that when we're healing an aspect of ourselves, that healing has to work through and go through all layers of our bodies. So it has to go through the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body, right? And then when it's healed through all of those layers, that's us, then the healing is complete, and we get to have more access to the real self, right? The whole of us. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that, Margaret. Yeah, and Polly Joe shows really do happen. Speaking of which, before I forget, Polly Joe's show is going to be on at a special time today. She's usually on at noon on Tuesdays, but she's going to be on at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is 6 p.m. for us here in the Central time zone. So she's doing her show at a special time. She's helping her mom with some stuff. And so in order to do that and do her show in a place that she would have good internet, she needs to do it later in the day. So she and I will have our shows back to back tonight rather than this morning. So, and you're right, Margaret, that the working with the chakras and also tapping, I tell you what, that tapping it works. Tapping does. Mm-hmm. Elise says, third time for the card. Thanks. Love you guys too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Rochelle says, that would be great. Nellie is saying, I used to have hair back then. Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did that. You know that when we see ourselves as children, literally, when we can find a picture of it, it that also helps us to um, bring that memory into focus, right? And I know there are many, 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 many of us who had a very difficult, not even challenging, just straight out difficult childhood. And but it's time. It's time that we start healing those aspects. Have to, because we continually are seeing children all over the world, all over the world, um, being treated in the physical world in horrendous ways, in so many different ways, from trafficking, human trafficking, to war zones, to being taken from your parents in what's supposed to be a civilized and civilized nation, right? Yep. So it's one of the things that we can do, right? And and Mato is saying Armadillo card, such a great accompaniment with the South Shield. Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as soon as I get through all of the comments here. We're almost done with that. Mary is saying, oh, my older sister had a portrait done, but not me. Aha. Yeah. 64. Yeah, but Mary, you probably have some photos of you guys when you were children. And I shared one a long time ago, and I have it on my personal timeline. It's my dad and me and my younger brother, and Bob and I think we're toddlers in that picture. So we're probably 3 years old, 2 years old, or 4 and 3, something like that. And Rochelle said, forgiving the people who hurt you is a process. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it comes in layers and it comes in waves, doesn't it? Yes, it does. All right. So Armadillo. This guy is going to be so very helpful to understand with clarity the information, the essence of the South Shield, the innocence, the inner child. Jamie Sams writes that Armadillo wears its armor on its back, its medicine a part of its body. Its medicine a part of its body. Its boundaries of safety are part of its total being. Armadillo can roll into a ball and never be penetrated by his enemies, right? And when we do our spiritual protection, when we put ourselves into that bubble of either love or white light, or when those of us who have done the work with the Merkaba, and we have our Leonardo sphere, that bubble, that's what I thought of when I read this, is that those of us who intentionally put that protection, the Creator's protection around us, 360 degrees in all directions, right? That's like the armadillo, because it's round. It's round. All right. So, and she goes on to say that your lesson is in setting up what you're willing to experience. And I had to stop at that one little sentence and think, what the heck? What does that mean? And literally, she's talking about how we create our experience, how we create our world. And there again, that's another piece I used to teach years ago. She says that there's a good exercise that we can do and you can do this in your own time, right? What she says is to draw a circle on a piece of paper and then write on the inside of the circle, because this is your medicine shield that she says that you're creating when you do this process, is on the inside of the shield. Write all that you are desiring to have, to experience on the inside of the shield. Okay, so I'll say that again. Write all that you are desiring to have or experience. Include all things that give you joy. And this is literally helping you to set boundaries. It's another small action to take. Okay. And she says that the shield reflects what you are and what your will is to others on an unconscious level. On the outside of the shield, you may put what you're willing to experience by invitation only. So it could be things, she gives an example, that you're willing to have visits from long lost relatives. Okay. So, but you're only this is their invitation to be able to come to you. So it's only the things on the outside of the shield that you're willing to experience only by invitation. And then she also says is that setting up boundaries. What will you do and won't do? What makes you feel uncomfortable and what is comforting to you? How you react or to in any circumstance that has to do with your ability to be objective. You can't be objective if you cannot tell where the other person's personality stops and where yours begins. It will seem as if all the feelings in a room full of people must be yours. And then asking yourself what actually belongs to you and what belongs to another person. And so what she's writing about here is really how we as empaths, when we don't recognize that as a gift, that's how we feel. We can't tell what's mine and what's somebody else's because I'm feeling it for them, right? Or holding it for them. And so can you imagine, because I'm sure many of us have gone through this, especially as empaths, that you're this child being taken from your parent and you're feeling not only your emotions around it, but you're also feeling their emotions, their fear, their concern, their sadness, that compounds yours, right? And then you're put into a cage with other children who are going through the similar emotions. And so now you have fear to the 10th power, right? Because it's all around you. So if you haven't even been taught about boundaries, or you don't know about setting boundaries, this is the part where a lot of professional people who are therapists are extremely concerned about these children, about setting up a lifetime of challenges because of this one act of taking them from their parent. Something that didn't need to happen, right? And I include in all kids across the world, Syrians, both sides of the bank of the West Bank, the Jewish children and the Muslim children who have to endure, generations of war. So this is the work that that's being brought to us, is that we get to do that step of creating our own boundaries, connecting with that aspect of us that's innocent, that inner child, and heal those aspects so that we're whole. That way, when it comes to helping other people, we're in a much stronger place to be able to do that. Does that make sense? That's what I got from it. She says that Allow Armadillo's armor to slice in between, giving you back your sense of self when you're in a room full of people that you can't separate what's yours and what's theirs. So it's that boundary thing, right? Yeah. Mary saying, my sister and I laugh about all the photos of her, the firstborn. I came along 6 years later, fewer pictures. Pretty normal for the first. That's so true, isn't it? I know. Yeah, there's not that many pictures of my youngest brother and I. That's for sure. A whole lot of them about my older brother. Yep, when he was an only child for the first 5 years. Yeah. Jamie Sam says that vulnerability is the key to enjoying the gifts of the physical life. And you can do that when you trust, right? And when you have your boundaries and that you know through your entire being that you're safe, that you can fully enjoy the physical life. She says the key is allowing Armadillo to help you to stop hiding and use the armadillo's armor to deflect negative energies. In this way, you're able to accept or reject any feeling, any action, or energy flow without having to hide from it. Yeah. And I have to say, that my Merkaba is what did that for me. And that was years ago when I did that work. So here's Armadillo. We have to thank this little guy for coming along and helping us to understand the essence of that South Shield card in a deeper way. Yeah. Good stuff, don't you think? Let me read you the poem about Armadillo, okay? Armadillo, armor all my boundaries, teach me my shields, reflect all the hurt, so I will not yield. I like that one. It's short, sweet, and to the point. My husband's here. The garage door is going open. I'm up here at the academy, and I think he thinks that I should be done with the show, I think. It's not really a show, is it? It's us having a spiritual conversation. I like it. It helps me to, I don't know, share the things that I do almost every morning anyway, right? And to be able to be here with you so that we get to know each other a little bit better, and also to make this connection around spirit and through spirit is what I love. That, and I get to share my coffee with you in the mornings. So with this information about our innocence and the small action that we can take along with our prayers, because our prayers also are very important for the world's children, right? And for our own children. For me, that's the first layer. Because we have a physical life here, we also have to take action. And that action can be right here in our own homes, in our own lives, such as connecting with our inner child and having that conversation with that aspect of ourselves, that part of ourselves, to say that we're loved and that we're safe, and nurture that aspect of us. That is an action that helps us to heal and helps us to be more whole, right? So that our gifts can come through. And the other thing is that we're stronger. We're stronger. Our medicine, our personal medicine, is stronger. And I would like to add one last thing about a small action. And I hardly ever talk about politics because it's so negative. But I got to add this. I believe one of the other actions is is to contact those people who are in elected positions on the federal and state levels when there is a situation that is important to you, such as the immigration piece and getting those kids, those children back to their parents to make sure that they're safe and that they're well taken care of, because it doesn't sound like they are. When they're in the custody of our government, right? So that we can start to break this cycle of our government taking, or any government taking, a child away from their parents. It has happened through our entire history as a country. And so when we're strong enough to do that, is to contact them, whether we're sending them a letter or calling their office and talking to their aides, but telling them that this is not acceptable, and that they work for us. They don't work for a corporation. They might get paid by a corporation through their contributions, but they work for us. And if they're not willing to take care of the children or to take care of the environment, then we'll put somebody else in there that will work for us. And so, you see, when we're strong enough to do that, to make that's another small action we can take just from our own homes. So, I don't know. With this, right? Please just take whatever resonated with you, that felt good to you, and hold on to that piece and watch how today's energy flows, and whether you're that participant or that direct or that witness to it, right? And if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. We enjoyed our coffee together and some good conversation, and you can let it go, or you can share it with somebody else that you might be the messenger, right? Right. So enjoy your Tuesday, and remember, Rochelle, I just saw your name, Rochelle, and said it out loud. Polly Joe's show is on at 7 p.m. Eastern time today, not noon, but 7 p.m. Eastern. And my show follows, Communications from Home follows right after that at 8 p.m. And we're talking about sacred sites near us, wherever we live. We're going to be talking about that. And then Wednesday, of course, is Soul Connections. It's an hour of healing. It's good stuff. And Thursday, I am so excited about this. Minnie Kansman and I have our new show starting on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and it's called Nature Adventures. And it's going to be our premiere show, and I can't wait. It's going to be a fun show. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you again, okay? Bama Mina, everybody, until we see each other again.